The night was cold and heavy with dust. Broken towers stood like bones across the ruined city of Velithra, their lights long dead. Wind moved through the empty streets carrying whispers of a world that no longer existed. Under one of those towers, a small alien girl named Rin hid inside the shadows. Her skin was pale blue and marked with faint glowing lines that flickered weakly, like a dying star. She was thin, barefoot, and trembling. The cracked ground cut her feet, but she dared not move. Above her, the sky buzzed with the sound of hunter drones, machines that searched for her every night. Rin held her breath as a red light swept across the rubble. The drone's lens turned slowly, humming. She pressed herself against the cold metal wall and prayed silently in her own tongue. "Please, don't see me." The red light passed. The drone moved on. Rin waited. 1 second, 2, 10. When silence returned, she crawled out from the hole and ran. Her heart beat fast. She carried nothing but a small piece of cloth around her arm, her only memory of her mother. She did not know where to go. She had no home, no family, no record in the galaxy. Her entire race, the Alaran, had been erased from history. The leaders called them a mistake. The machines called them data corruption. Rin didn't understand those words. All she knew was that the world wanted her gone. Her legs were weak. She stumbled through the dark, her eyes shining softly in the shadows. She saw a faint light ahead, orange and flickering. Firelight. Someone was there. She crept closer and saw a man. A human. He sat beside a metal crate, a lamp beside him, repairing an old drone part. His jacket was torn, his face rough from wind and sand. His name was Elias. He worked as a salvager, collecting old tech to trade for food. Rin froze. Humans were stories to her people, distant travelers from the stars. She had never seen one before. Elias heard something move. He turned his head quickly. "Who's there?" Rin gasped and tried to hide, but her foot hit a pipe, making a sharp metallic sound. Elias stood, holding his tool like a weapon. "Come out. I won't hurt you, if you're not one of them." His voice was rough but not cruel. Rin hesitated, then slowly stepped into the light. Elias blinked. By the stars, the girl's eyes were bright like blue fire. Her skin glowed faintly, dusted with scars. She looked more like a ghost than a child. "What are you doing out here?" he asked softly. Rin couldn't answer. Her throat was dry and her voice was weak. She only pointed at the sky, trembling. Elias followed her gesture and saw the red searchlights moving closer again. "Damn," he muttered. "They're sweeping this area." The girl tried to run, but she was too slow. Her legs gave out. Elias rushed forward without thinking. He grabbed her and pulled her behind the crate. A drone's beam swept past, missing them by inches. The noise grew louder, then faded away into the distance. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Elias looked down at her. "You're shaking," he said gently. "You're not one of the raiders, are you?" Rin looked up, her lips trembling. "They erased us," she whispered. Elias frowned. "Erased you?" She nodded. "My people. Gone. All gone. I'm not supposed to exist." The words chilled him. He had heard stories, rumors of an alien race deleted from all systems. A government cover-up. But he never believed it. Until now. He placed his hand on her shoulder. "You're safe with me for now." Rin didn't understand all his words, but she felt the kindness in his tone. She looked at his face, tired, rough, but human. Something inside her chest softened. From the sky came another mechanical roar. Elias glanced up. "They'll be back," he said. "We can't stay here." He picked up his pack, grabbed her small hand, and started running through the ruins. The air filled with dust and the sound of alarms. Rin stumbled beside him, her small feet splashing through puddles. She felt something strange. Hope. As they ran, Elias looked back once. The red lights were closing in. "Hold on, kid," he said. "We're not dying tonight." They reached a broken tunnel leading underground. He pushed her inside first and followed after. The drone beam swept past the tunnel entrance, searching, but found nothing. Inside the darkness, they both caught their breath. Elias turned on a small lamp. Rin looked at him, confused but grateful. "Name?" he asked gently. She touched her chest. "Rin," he smiled faintly. "Rin, huh? I'm Elias. Guess we're partners now." Her lips curved into a weak smile for the first time. Above them, thunder rolled. The drones circled again, hunting. But deep below the city, the last Alaran girl and one lonely human began a journey neither of them could imagine. a journey that would change the fate of an entire race. The lamp flickered. The storm raged outside, and somewhere in the shadows, destiny quietly shifted. The storm raged through the ruins as Elias and Rin crawled deeper into the old tunnel. The air was cold and smelled of metal and dust. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing in the dark. Rin's small hand was cold in his, but she didn't let go. After a long walk, they reached an old shelter built from scrap walls and rusted pipes. Elias turned on a small generator, and the dim yellow light filled the space. It wasn't much, a metal bed, a work table, and shelves full of broken tools, but it was safe. "This is my place," Elias said, catching his breath. "Not pretty, but the drones can't find us here." Rin looked around quietly. Everything was strange to her. Human things, human smells, human air. She sat down slowly on the floor, pulling her knees to her chest. Elias opened a can of water and handed it to her. "Drink, you look half dead." She hesitated, then took a sip. The taste was strange but good. For the first time in days, she didn't feel fear in her chest. Elias watched her closely. The blue light under her skin pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He had seen many alien species in his life, but none like her. She looked fragile, but something told him she carried a secret deeper than any machine could read. "So," he said carefully, "you said they erased you. What did you mean by that?" Rin looked down, twisting the cloth around her arm. "They deleted us. From the stars. From memory. No name, no code." Her voice was soft, broken. "If a machine sees us, it says we don't exist. And if we speak, they call us liars." Elias felt a chill. "The Alaran," he whispered. "That's your people, isn't it?" Her eyes widened. You know that name?" "Just old stories," Elias said. "They said your kind could change worlds, heal planets after wars. But one day they were gone. Every record wiped." Rin nodded slowly. "Because we could make life grow again. The ones in power, they feared us." Elias stared at her, his heart sinking. "So they destroyed you for helping?" She said nothing, only looked away. Her small fingers traced a crack in the floor. Outside, thunder rolled again. The sound made her flinch. Elias noticed and spoke gently. "You're safe here. No one's gonna hurt you." He stood, moving to a control panel on the wall. It was old and full of blinking lights. He pulled out a scanner and waved it over her arm. The screen glitched, showing a strange red message. "Entity not found." Elias frowned. "Even the scanner thinks you're a ghost." Rin's eyes filled with fear. "Please, don't scan me again." "If they track it," he stopped instantly. "Hey, easy." "I won't." She looked up at him, confused. "Why are you helping me?" "Humans don't help the erased." Elias sighed, sitting beside her. "Because you're alive. Because no one deserves to be hunted for existing." Rin blinked, not fully understanding, but she felt something new in his voice, something warm. Trust. After a long silence, she whispered, "You're kind." He gave a small smile. "Don't tell anyone. I've got a reputation." That made her smile a little too. Hours passed. Rin fell asleep on the metal bed, her breathing soft and slow. Elias sat near the lamp thinking. He couldn't shake the feeling that the universe had just dropped something important into his hands. He reached for his old comm device and typed a message to his only friend, Mara, a journalist who worked for underground news channels. "Mara, I found something or someone. I need your help. This could change everything." He didn't send it yet. His thumb hovered over the button. If the message was traced, they'd both die. He sighed and turned it off. "Tomorrow," he muttered. "When it's safer." Rin stirred in her sleep. The blue marks on her skin glowed brighter for a moment, lighting the room. Elias watched in quiet awe. It was like watching a living constellation breathe, but far above, in the night sky, 3 Imperial ships hovered silently. A voice echoed through their metal halls. "The anomaly has been located. Begin sector sweep." Elias didn't know it yet, but the moment he decided to protect her, he had declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the universe was about to learn that compassion could be stronger than control. Morning came slowly in the wasteland. A weak sun pushed through the gray clouds, lighting the broken metal city. Inside the old shelter, Rin sat quietly by the corner, her hands cupped around a cup of warm water that Elias had boiled on a small stove. Elias worked at his table, repairing an old communication core. His eyes were tired, but his mind was sharp. He kept thinking about what Rin had said the night before, about being erased, about her people who could make life grow again. It sounded impossible, but so did she. He looked at her again. She was tracing patterns in the dust with her glowing fingers. Wherever her touch passed, the dust seemed to move, almost alive. "You ever do that before?" Elias asked, curious. Rin looked up, shy. "Do what?" "That glowing thing," she blinked. "I don't know. It just happens when I feel safe." Elias smiled softly. "Then maybe that's a good sign." For a moment there was peace, quiet, warm peace in a cold, dead world. But peace never lasted long in Velathra. Elias turned back to the data core. It was old and damaged, but he was a skilled salvager. After hours of work, it finally came to life, projecting a weak blue light and humming with static. Lines of forgotten data scrolled across the screen. He began to search the archives. "Let's see what the old world remembers," he muttered. And then something appeared. A symbol, a shining circle with a spiral in the center. He froze. He had seen that symbol once before, long ago, on a blacklisted data chip. It was the Alaran seal. "Rin," he said slowly, "come here." She stood beside him, eyes wide. When she saw the symbol, tears filled her eyes. "That was ours," she whispered. "Our mark." Elias clicked through the files. Images flashed. Green worlds, blue oceans, alien forests, and tall, gentle beings with glowing skin like hers. They were smiling, healing, planting seeds. But then, the images turned dark. Flames, bombs, ships. And then one line of text appeared. "Alaran deletion order. Approved by Galactic Senate." Rin covered her mouth. They really did it." Elias scrolled further. The data was old, but it told a terrifying truth. The Alaran were not destroyed because they were dangerous. They were erased because they could restore what war had broken. They could make planets bloom again. The Senate wanted control, not life. Elias clenched his fists. "They wiped you out. Because you could heal?" Rin nodded, shaking. "We didn't fight. We only tried to fix what they broke." Elias turned off the core and looked at her. "Then the galaxy deserves to know the truth." But as soon as he said it, the lamp flickered. The shelter's warning light blinked red. Someone was scanning the area. Elias cursed under his breath. "They found the signal from the data core." "Damn it." Rin looked terrified. "They'll come?" "Yes, soon." He grabbed a bag, stuffing in supplies. "We have to move." Rin tried to help, but her hands shook. She could feel something strange inside her, a pressure building like fire under her skin. "Elias," she whispered, "if they find us, I can't stop them." He turned to her, his voice firm. "You don't have to stop them. You just have to survive." Outside, the sound of engines grew louder. Shadows of drones passed over the cracks in the roof. Elias reached for his comm device. This time he didn't hesitate. He sent the message to Mara. "They're real, Mara. The Alaran were never monsters. I have proof. Send extraction. Fast." The message flashed, "Sent." Then the device sparked, fried by interference. Rin grabbed Elias's arm, frightened. "Who is Mara?" "A friend," he said. "She's human like me, but she believes in truth." Rin's eyes glowed brighter. "Then maybe she can help us tell it." A loud explosion shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. The first drone had arrived, its red eyes flashing through the cracks. Elias pulled Rin close. "Through the tunnels, go." They ran as the roof burst open. Metal rained down. The drone fired, missing by inches. Sparks filled the tunnel entrance. Elias fired back with his salvager's tool, a burst of plasma that hit the drone's wing. It spun and crashed in fire. Rin looked at him, shocked. "You fight like a soldier." He gave a short laugh. "Used to be one." They kept running until the tunnel opened into a wide cavern filled with water pipes and old machines. Elias stopped to catch his breath. "They won't stop," Rin whispered. Elias nodded grimly. "Then we'll make them regret ever starting." He looked back at her glowing eyes and realized something. She wasn't just the last Alaran. She was the key to exposing everything. The living proof of the Empire's greatest lie. And somewhere out there, a single message now raced through the hidden networks of the galaxy, carrying her story. The truth had begun to spread, like the first seed in a dead world. The sky over Velathra was burning red. Great metal ships hovered above the ruins. sending beams of light that cut through the dust. Every machine, every drone, every soldier had one command: find the anomaly. And that anomaly was now running for her life. Rin and Elias sprinted through the wasteland, their footsteps echoing against the cracked ground. The wind was sharp with sand stinging their faces. Behind them, the low hum of engines grew louder. Drones were closing in, their red scanners flashing across the ground like angry eyes. "Keep running," Elias shouted, gripping her hand tightly. Rin's legs ached, but she didn't stop. Her heart pounded like thunder. For the first time, she wasn't just running to hide. She was running to survive with someone who believed in her. Suddenly, a bright beam shot past, hitting the ground just beside them. The explosion threw them forward. Dirt and fire filled the air. Rin coughed, her vision blurred. Elias pulled her up again. "They've locked onto us," he said. "We need cover." They darted into the ruins of an old bridge now half buried in the sand. The metal creaked under their weight. Elias pulled out his old blaster, checking the charge. One shot left. Rin looked up at him, frightened. "You'll die if you fight them." Elias gave a rough smile. "Then I'll die doing something that matters." Before he could speak again, the sound of engines roared above them. 3 drones hovered, their red lights searching the wreckage. Rin closed her eyes, trembling. The blue light under her skin began to glow brighter, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something stronger. The ground beneath her hands started to vibrate. "What are you doing?" Elias whispered. "I don't know," Rin said. "It's like the ground is listening." The metal bridge around them groaned. Tiny green sprouts began pushing through the cracks, impossible living plants in a dead desert. The drone stopped mid-air, confused by the sudden life signals. "Now," Elias shouted. He fired his last shot, hitting the first drone square in its core. It exploded in flames. The shockwave made the others spin off course. Rin's power surged again, her glow bursting through the darkness like lightning. The plants grew taller, wrapping around the fallen drones, tearing them apart. When silence returned, she collapsed to her knees, exhausted. Elias ran to her side, his eyes wide. "You did that?" he asked, still breathing hard. Rin nodded weakly. "I don't know how. It just happens when I'm scared." Elias shook his head in disbelief. "They didn't destroy your people because you were dangerous. They destroyed you because you could heal." Rin looked down at her glowing hands. "They called it corruption. They said we changed nature." "No," Elias said firmly. "You fixed it." For a moment, neither spoke. The world around them was silent, except for the soft hum of the glowing plants that now surrounded them. Life had returned, even if only for a moment, but peace never lasted long under the Empire's eye. Above them, a massive shadow covered the sun. Elias looked up and saw it, an Imperial dropship, black and heavy, descending through the clouds. "Move," he shouted. They ran again through the remains of old highways and burnt machines. The ship opened fire, sending waves of dust and heat through the air. Rin tripped, falling hard. Elias turned back instantly, lifting her up despite the pain in his leg. "We can't outrun them," she cried. "We don't have to," he said. "We just need to disappear." He spotted an old subway entrance buried halfway under the sand. Without hesitation, he dragged open the rusted door and pulled her inside. The tunnel was dark, filled with echoes of forgotten trains. The door slammed shut just as the ship passed overhead. Inside, it was silent. Too silent. Only their breaths broke the darkness. Rin looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. "You saved me again." Elias sat down, catching his breath. "Guess I'm getting used to it," but he was bleeding. A piece of shrapnel had cut his arm deeply. Rin saw it and quickly pressed her glowing hand over the wound. Elias tried to pull away. "No, don't. Too late." A soft blue light spread from her palm. The bleeding stopped. The pain faded. When he looked, the wound was gone, not even a scar. Elias stared at her, speechless. "I can heal." "Others too," she said quietly. "But it takes my strength." Elias smiled, amazed. "Rin, you're not just the last of your kind. You're the proof they were wrong." A low vibration shook the tunnel. Somewhere above, heavy boots landed. Soldiers had arrived. Rin looked up. "They're close." Elias stood, gripping his weapon, though he knew it was useless now. "Then we keep moving. We find Mara. We tell everyone what they did." Rin nodded. "If they find us, they'll kill us both." He smiled faintly. "Then we make sure they find the truth first." The two figures walked deeper into the darkness, their shadows stretching across the tunnel walls. Behind them, faint trails of glowing blue light marked their path, proof that life, once erased, was returning to a dying world. And above the wasteland, the Empire searched for a girl it once deleted from history, not knowing she was about to rewrite it. The tunnel seemed endless. Darkness swallowed the air, broken only by the soft blue glow of Rin's skin. The ground was wet and cold. Elias walked beside her, limping slightly, his hand still pressed where she had healed his wound. It didn't hurt anymore, but the memory of what she'd done stayed bright in his mind. They finally reached a rusted gate at the end of the tunnel. Elias pushed it open and a gust of clean air rushed in. Before them stretched an open valley of rock and sand, the edge of the city ruins. Far away, hidden in the cliffs, stood an old observatory with a broken dome. "That's where we'll meet her," Elias said, pointing. "Mara will come. She always does."
Rin looked at the sky. It was still red from fire and smoke. What if she doesn't? Elias smiled faintly. Then it'll just be you and me against the galaxy. They walked toward the observatory, their feet crunching over old glass and stone. Rin was quiet, her eyes full of thought. Every time she looked at Elias, she felt something strange. A warmth that no data or memory could explain. Inside the observatory, the air was dusty, but still. Faded screens covered the walls, and a giant telescope pointed toward a dead sky. Elias powered up a small terminal. Sparks flew, and the screen flickered to life. He sent a short signal, "Safe, bring recorder." Minutes passed. Then, footsteps echoed in the distance. A tall woman entered, her coat heavy with sand. Her brown eyes scanned the room sharply before softening. "Elias," she said, relief in her voice. "You're alive," Elias grinned. "Barely." "Mara, meet Rin." Mara turned and froze. Rin stood shyly behind Elias, glowing faintly in the dim light. "My God," Mara whispered. "You weren't joking." "She's real," Elias said. "The last of the Ellerin." Mara's voice trembled. "They said it was impossible. The Ellerin were myths deleted centuries ago." Rin looked at her curiously. "Humans erased us." "Why?" Mara sighed. "Not humans, child. The Empire did. And they erased everything that didn't fit their truth." Elias placed the data core on the table. "We found proof, official deletion orders. Videos, reports, the works. You can broadcast this, right?" Mara hesitated. "If I do, they'll come for all of us." Elias looked at her firmly. "They already have." Mara's gaze shifted to Rin. "Do you understand what this means, Rin? If we send your face across the galaxy, there's no going back." Rin nodded slowly. "If I hide forever, they win. My people stay ghosts." Mara smiled sadly. "You're brave. Braver than most humans I know." They began setting up the recorder. Elias helped Rin sit before the camera. The machine's red light blinked. "Just speak from your heart," he said softly. Rin looked nervous. "What do I say?" "Tell them who you are," Ila said. "Tell them the truth they buried." She took a deep breath. Her eyes glowed brighter. "I am Rin of the Ellerin," she said in a soft voice. "They called us dangerous. They said we could destroy worlds. But we only made them live again. We healed the soil. We made the air clean. We wanted peace. But they feared what they could not control." Her voice shook. "They erased my family, my home, my name. But I'm still here. And I forgive them. Because hate only makes more darkness." Mara wiped her eyes quietly. Elias watched with pride. When the recording ended, Mara uploaded it through her secret network. The signal jumped from satellite to satellite, spreading across every colony, every hidden station. Within hours, millions saw it. A small alien girl speaking truth in a broken world. People watched, stunned. Many cried. Some refused to believe. Others whispered, "If the Ellerin are real, what else have they hidden from us?" But in the Empire's capital, alarms began to sound. Generals shouted, "Find the source! Shut down every signal!" A commander glared at the screen, his voice cold. "If that creature is alive, she dies tonight." Back at the observatory, Rin felt a strange pull in her chest, fear mixed with peace. She turned to Elias. "They'll come, won't they?" He nodded. "Yes, but they'll find us ready." She smiled faintly. "You humans, you always fight, even when you know you'll lose." Elias chuckled softly. "It's what makes us human." Outside, the sky began to glow red again, not from the sun, but from engines approaching fast. Mara grabbed her bag. "We need to move." They traced the upload. Elias looked around. "No time. We'll hold them here long enough for the truth to spread." Rin stood beside him, her hands glowing. "Then we fight together." The air grew heavy as the first ships appeared through the clouds. But inside that old observatory, among broken glass and dust, 2 humans and 1 erased alien stood tall, ready to face an empire with nothing but courage and truth. And somewhere, far away, the galaxy had already begun to change. The night came fast and heavy. The wind howled across the empty valley as dark ships descended from the clouds, their lights glowing red against the dust. Inside the old observatory, the air trembled with the sound of engines and marching soldiers. Elias, Rin, and Mara stood together near the broken window, watching the sky fill with the Empire's fire. "They found us," Mara whispered, her voice shaking. Elias loaded his old blaster. The weapon was ancient, barely functional, but it was all he had. "They were always going to," he said. "We bought enough time. The message is out." Mara looked at him, fear in her eyes. "If they catch us, they'll erase us too." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "Then let's make sure they remember us first." Rin stood silent, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. She could feel something inside her, a deep power, calm but heavy, waiting. It scared her. She looked at Elias. "You should go." "I can stop them." He turned sharply. "No, you're not dying here." Her voice was quiet but steady. "If I don't, they'll kill you. And then they'll find others. They'll never stop." Mara stepped forward, her hands trembling. "Listen to him, Rin. We'll find another way." The sound of metal boots cut her words short. The doors below burst open. Soldiers poured into the building, armored and armed. The room shook as the first blast hit the outer wall. Elias grabbed Rin's hand. "Backstairs, move!" They ran through the narrow hallways, the walls crumbling around them. Rin stumbled once, but Elias caught her. "Keep going." He shouted. "Don't stop." They reached a small control room at the top of the observatory, once used to move the telescope. Now it was just shattered glass and rust. Through the cracked dome, they could see the Empire's army closing in. Mara set up her transmitter again, fingers flying over the keys. "I can keep broadcasting. If they jam the signal, I'll bounce it through old satellites. The truth has to stay alive." Elias nodded. "Do it." He turned to Rin. "Whatever happens, stay behind me." Rin shook her head. "No, Elias, not this time." Her glowing eyes locked on the window as the first soldier climbed through the ruins. Without a word, Rin stepped forward. The air around her began to vibrate. Her skin glowed brighter until the light filled the room like liquid fire. Elias covered his eyes. "Rin, wait, too late." The energy burst outward, shattering the walls. The shockwave threw the soldiers back, their weapons flying. For a brief moment, everything outside went still. No wind, no sound, only a bright blue storm. When the light faded, the soldiers were scattered, stunned but alive. Rin fell to her knees, Gasping for air, Elias ran to her. "You can't do that again. You'll burn yourself out." She looked up weakly. "If that's the price, it's worth it." Below, more troops advanced. The Empire's commander gave the order, "Capture the human. Terminate the anomaly." Blaster fire filled the air. Elias grabbed his weapon and returned fire, each shot echoing through the hall. Mara ducked behind the console, still sending out the last of the data packets. "Almost done," she shouted. A beam hit Elias's shoulder. He fell hard. "Elias!" Rin screamed. She crawled to him, tears in her glowing eyes. Blood covered his jacket. He looked up at her and smiled faintly. "Hey, I told you to stay behind me." "Don't talk," she whispered, her hands shaking as she pressed them over the wound. Blue light flowed from her palms. The blood stopped, but Elias's breathing was weak. "Save your strength," he murmured. "You're the only one who can finish this." "No!" Rin cried. "You're coming with me." The door burst open again. More soldiers rushed in. Mara hit the final key on the console, sending the message to every corner of the galaxy. "It's done," she shouted. "Everyone knows." A blaster fired. Mara fell, clutching her side. Rin's heart broke. She screamed, a sound that wasn't just fear but power, deep, ancient power. The ground shook. Light poured from her eyes, her hands, her entire body. The soldiers froze as blue vines burst through the floor, wrapping around their armor. The air filled with energy, not fire, but life. Elias reached for her weakly. "Rin, stop. You'll kill yourself." She looked back at him, tears falling down her glowing cheeks. "I'm not killing Elias, I'm healing." The light spread across the battlefield outside, turning the dead sand into grass, the broken sky into color. The Empire's machines powered down, their lights fading. Rin's body shook, her energy draining fast. She stumbled toward Elias and fell into his arms. He held her close, whispering, "You did it." Her voice was faint. "Then promise me. They'll remember." "I promise," he said softly. "The galaxy will know who you were." Her light dimmed slowly, wrapping the world in a calm blue glow. Outside, the Empire's army had stopped fighting. Soldiers looked around in silence as life bloomed around their feet. And in the center of that miracle, a human held a glowing alien girl who had just changed the galaxy, not by fighting, but by forgiving. Dawn broke over the valley like a whisper. The storm had passed, and the air smelled of new life. The sky that once burned red was now clear and soft, glowing with gentle light. The ruins of Val Athra no longer looked dead. From cracks in the ground, tiny blue flowers had begun to bloom, shimmering like stars. Elias awoke slowly, lying among the green that had risen overnight. His head throbbed and his clothes were torn, but he was alive. All around him, the ground pulsed faintly with the energy that had come from Rin. He sat up and called softly, "Rin?" No answer, only the rustle of the wind through new leaves. He turned and there she was. Rin lay a few feet away, her body still, her blue light fading. She looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. Elias crawled to her side, his hands trembling. "Rin, come on, kid. Wake up." But she didn't move. The glow under her skin was dim now, almost gone. He felt a deep ache inside, a pain sharper than any wound. He whispered, "You did it. You really did it." All around them, the signs of her power remained. The wasteland had become alive again. The Empire's ships lay silent, their engines dead, covered in vines. Soldiers who once came to kill now stood in awe, weapons dropped to the ground, staring at the miracle before them. A young soldier stepped closer, his helmet off, his voice shaking. She stopped the machines," he said quietly. "She stopped everything." Elias didn't look up. He was still holding Rin's small hand. "She didn't stop the world," he said softly. "She fixed it." The soldier bowed his head. "What was she?" Elias smiled faintly through his tears. "She was life." By nightfall, the message Mara had sent had spread across the stars. Every colony, every ship, every outpost was watching the same video. Rin's words before the battle. "We only made the worlds live again. We never wanted war." Millions of humans and aliens listened in silence. Some cried. Some bowed their heads. Some whispered her name like a prayer. The truth had finally broken free. In the great halls of the Galactic Senate, chaos erupted. Senators shouted at one another, their lies unraveling in front of the whole galaxy. Reports came in from across the sectors, soldiers refusing orders, colonies demanding justice, citizens planting blue flowers in memory of the erased one. Within a week, the Empire's command collapsed. The new leaders called for peace talks, not to conquer, but to heal. For the first time in centuries, humans and aliens stood side by side. Months passed. The valley where Rin had fallen was no longer empty. It became a living garden, a sanctuary built by both humans and aliens. People came from across the stars to see it, and in the center stood a statue of a small girl with glowing eyes and open hands. The memorial of Rin of the Ellerin, Elias visited often. His hair was grayer now, his face worn by time, but his spirit was still strong. He would sit beside her statue every morning. Watching the light pass through the blue petals. He often spoke to her softly, like she could still hear. "You know, Rin," he'd say, "you were right. They do remember." Children played nearby, human and alien children together, laughing, running, planting new seeds in the soil she had made alive again. The sight always brought a small smile to his face. One day, a little girl approached him. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes bright. "Mr. Elias," she asked, "is it true she made the stars bloom?" He chuckled softly. "Something like that, kid. She showed us that even the smallest light can change the dark." The girl smiled wide. "I want to be like her." Elias looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Then you already are." He stood looking up at the sky. The stars above Vel-Athra shone brighter than ever, and among them a faint blue star flickered like a heartbeat. He liked to think that was her, still watching, still glowing. "Still guiding," he whispered. "You weren't erased. Rin, you became everything." And so, the story of a forgotten alien child, once hunted, erased, and alone, became the story that changed a galaxy. Humans learned compassion could rebuild what power had destroyed. The Ellerin were no longer ghosts in the data archives. They were symbols of life and hope. Across the stars, people began to plant glowing blue flowers on every world. They called them Rin's tears, blossoms that never died. Even in the harshest lands. And somewhere, in the quiet of space, it was said that when the wind passed through those flowers, you could still hear her whisper, soft and kind, "They tried to erase me, but you remembered."